Hello YouTube and welcome back to a new video with me, Rams Fan YT. It's a bit of a short prediction video today due to it being the international break. But that doesn't stop there being tons of action, including the FA Trophy semi-finals. So let's get it straight off with tonight's fixtures. There's only one in League One tonight, and that is an important game nonetheless. Doncaster Rovers versus Port Vale. Two sides who are in amongst a mix of relegation zone. Doncaster Rovers 5 points clear relegation zone as we are currently recording. Port Vale, they're currently 11th point off safety. I think it's a bit too far gone for Port Vale, although they do have 3 games in hand up against Exeter City. So they suddenly win all 3 of them, and I think they could well and truly be back in contention. They did win their last game very impressively, 1-0 up against Bolton Wanderers, and maybe they can take their form into this game here and beat Doncaster 2-1. Maybe the miraculous comeback safety is on for Port Vale. I very much doubt it. I suspect they'll probably finish around about 22nd, though, because they are hitting a decent vein of form enough anyway. There's only one League 2 game tonight as well, and that is Oldham Athletic versus Notts County. Oldham are in a great run of form at the moment. 4 wins in a row, unbeaten in about 6 or 7 games now. Notts County, they got back-to-back wins, but there's a bit more hit-and-miss form, but they'll be hoping in this game in hand to be able to overtake Cambridge and get into the top 3. It's going to be quite an end-to-end game. I've gone with a 2-all draw here. I don't think either side will be defeated in this one. And Oldham are suddenly coming out looking like they could sneak into the playoffs. They're actually only 4 points off it now, with a game in hand over Grimsby and a couple of games in hand over Salford as well. So very much still in contention. Oldham come out for a bit nowhere, to be honest. In the National League tonight, we've got Aldershot Town versus Boreham Wood. Boreham Wood, they're in the playoffs. They're probably going to end there in the season. Pretty much can just be content to play out their final 7 games until the end of the season, because I doubt really that they're going to fall out of the playoffs. Aldershot, well, they're looking to get back to winning ways. They've now lost 5 in a row. Again, we're at the same situation with Aldershot. They're flatlining at the moment. John Coleman might be the next manager on the chopping block if he doesn't desperately turn his side's form around. But I suspect maybe at home they could just edge this one out. I've gone 2-0 to Aldershot Town here. It seems quite a bizarre prediction to make, but you never know. Boston United versus Altrincham. 13th versus 14th, a very tight, narrow game in all reality. Not a lot, to be fair, to pit between these two sides at the moment. And therefore, I have gone with home advantage being what will be the ultimate arbitrator. A 1-0 win to the home side of Boston United. On to the next one in Boston United versus Brackley Town versus Braintree. We've just done Boston, flipping it. Brackley versus Braintree. An important game, very much so. Brackley just out relegation zone on goal difference and are not in a great run of form. Gateshead breathing down their neck, and they're looking like that they could just get the great comeback story. Braintree, they're 3 points off safety. They've hit a bit of bad form at the wrong time of the season. I think that's fair to say. I think in this one, I'm going to have to go with a 0-0 draw. I don't think either side realistically wins this game. Eastleigh versus Sutton United. This is quite an interesting one. Scott Bartlett, successor, has still not been appointed from the best of my knowledge, although they may have been and I may have missed it. But they're in quite a bit of trouble now. 5 points off safety in 19th. It's an important game. Sutton are only a point above them in 17th. Again, I can't pick a winner out of these two teams, so I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I think that's the more statistically likely outcome. Gateshead versus York City, and we know Gateshead have actually been going on quite a mental run of form to actually push them up into a position where they may even get to safety, but it's a difficult game, York City, isn't it? 2 points off the top of the league, 92 points already at this stage of the season. We've got two absolutely nuts teams in Rochdale and York this season, really. If one of them doesn't get promoted this season, that would have been even more calls for the 3 up, 3 down will just grow even louder, because how you can get over 90 points and not get promoted is quite frankly absurd. I think in this one, York does win 3-1 with, I'm going with. I did hear that the line between York and Newcastle was closed earlier as well, train line. So hopefully that will have cleared up by this evening so that there'll be a fair few York fans in the away end, because it's not far of a journey to make. Halifax versus Carlisle. Third place Carlisle versus Halifax in 7th. I'm still pretty certain that Halifax will drop out of the playoffs. I just think with 2 games in hand that Southend have will probably mean that Southend take their spot. But they'll certainly boost it if they manage to win this one. I think it'll be a very competitive game. I just don't think either side win it. I've gone with a 2-2 draw in this one. Into the National League North, got Alfreton Town versus Macclesfield. Alfreton are one of my most frustrating teams that I follow. Just really is one of them ones that you just wish that they get something. I mean, they always flatter to deceive at this point in this season. For 5 points off safety, 2 games in hand. And it's not an easy week of football, actually. They've got South Shields on the weekend, and in the midweek, they've got this game against Macclesfield. Probably going to be a couple of defeats, and starting off with this one, Macclesfield have got themselves in the playoffs in 6th, and they've got, 37 games played is on the lesser end of games played in the division. So, 4-2 to Macclesfield. Darlington versus Kidderminster Harriers. Kidderminster Harriers in 3rd now. They've done a great piece of run to manage to potentially seed themselves automatically into that semi-final position. Darlington won 3 in a row. They're in 5th. They're still a decent outfit, are the Quakers. I just think Kidderminster Harriers probably win this 2-1, although it could quite easily go the other way. Fylde versus Marine, a bit of a local derby of sorts in this one in the northwest of England. Fylde are dropping points all over the place, as are South Shields, which means that you can never quite predict till the end of the season, I think, which one of these 2 teams are going up. Marine, they're 3 games unbeaten now, and I think they might be able to get something from this one. I've gone with a 0-0 draw in this. Hereford versus Spennymoor Town. Spennymoor unbeaten 3 games, and Hereford have lost the last 3. And more than anything, I'm hoping that Hereford carry on losing just so that Alfreton can probably make up some ground, because they've got a lot of game in hand at the moment, Hereford. But it's all about winning them. I've got a 2-0 win for Spennymoor Town here away at, I think they're back at Edgar Street now. Leamington versus Kings Lynn Town. If Leamington, I don't even know if it's mathematically possible, really, for Leamington to stay up. They've got 7 games. But Max, I think, it's basically impossible for Leamington to be promoted, to stay up at this point. Almost a mathematical certainty, I would suggest. It is not impossible, but it's highly, highly, highly improbable. I'm about to get 5 losses in a row, and because I just don't see them beating Kings Lynn. And Kings Lynn aren't even a great team in this division, so it's back down to the Southern League Central for Leamington, and a 1-0 win for the Linnets here. Apologies about that. Bath City versus Hemel Hempstead Town in this one. Well, news coming from Bath City this week is that Darren Way, the manager of Bath, has been sacked. Clearly, Bath are trying to throw all they have of a last-ditch dice to stay up. 2 games in hand over Farnborough. They've got 7 points to make up. It's going to be really difficult, I think, for Bath City to actually stay up at this point in the season. Really, really difficult. But especially seeing they've got his first challenge, they've got, I think they've got an interim manager for now, but 5 wins in a row for Hemel Hempstead. That's a difficult game. It really is. They've managed to pull some amazing coups off recently to have pushed them into that top 3 spot. I don't know. I think maybe at Twerton Park, Bath maybe drag something out. It'll be a point, a 0-0 draw. It won't be pretty. But I imagine Bath fans will not care. It's a point towards what their ambitions are now. Chesham United versus Hornchurch. Hornchurch dropping down to 4th. I still reckon they've got it in them to be a decent side. They're just not quite consistent enough. Chesham 5 points off the playoffs with a game in hand over Torquay, 2 games in hand over Ebbsfleet, where they're only 6 points off. So he's still very much in the mix for them, Chesham. Just don't think they're also consistent enough to get it. And I think Hornchurch get a win in this one. 3-1 to the Urchins is what I've gone with in this game. Enfield Town versus Dover Athletic. 17th place Dover, they pretty much can just say, look, the season's over now. They've not got much to play for at this point in proceedings. With 7 games left, they're 11 points clear of relegation zone. It's very unlikely they get relegated. Enfield, they've got a huge task to try and make up that 8 points to safety. But we know that the National League South is one of them really entertaining leagues that you can't really call it till the end of the season. And I've gone 4-1 to Dover Athletic. Yeah, I'm sorry, Enfield, but you're down, you're out. I just think they're going to go back. I don't know if it'll be the Southern League Central or Isthmian League. I don't know which ones they will get relegated to. I suspect more likely the Isthmian League on the basis that if the other teams that will go down will probably go to the south of an Eastbourne, which will also go for the Isthmian League. Anyway, Torquay versus Dorking Wanderers. Torquay gained a manager in the form of Jimmy Ball, the grandson of a great Alan Ball, son. He's related to Alan Ball, the person who won the World Cup with England. And they took him from Totton. Interesting move. Torquay are in a difficult position. That is fair to say. At the moment, we're in 7th place with Western-super-Mare behind them, 2 games in hand over them. They're looking very precarious now. For a while, it looked like, they're definitely going to get playoffs and may even push for the title. Since then, they've gradually faded away. And this is a difficult game against table-topping Dorking. I think maybe Torquay know they need to get a result, so might get a 1-0 win. It's not going to be a pretty game. Western-super-Mare versus Worthing. Worthing are 2nd place, very decent at the moment. And if Dorking keep on dropping points, Worthing could still make it. There's 6 points between the two of them. And I actually think that Worthing might become the surprise contenders and dislodge Dorking on the final day of the season and Worthing claim a crown. Not to say that this is an easy game against Western-super-Mare, who are 8th place, 1 point off the playoffs, and will be determined to try and get there. But I've gone with a 4-3 win for Worthing, a real end-to-end riveting game. Morecambe versus Hartlepool United. Hartlepool are very inconsistent. They're 9th place, and their inconsistency is going to be ultimately their downfall, because I think it's quite unlikely for them to get to playoffs. They are 5 points off, although do have a game in hand over Halifax, but a game more played than Southend. And I just think it's just going to be a bit too much. And Morecambe are determined to stay up. They're 3 points off safety. They've managed to get a few results and beginning to turn their season around a bit more since they bought the returning, because he used to manage Morecambe, didn't he? In the form of Jim Bentley. So, yes, I think in this one we'll see a 0-0 draw. Morecambe need probably a bit more points at this stage in the season, but I'm sure they will just take a point at that point in proceedings. Scunthorpe versus Rochdale. I know Scunthorpe are very good, 3 wins in a row, but Rochdale are just different gravy, top of the league. There's become a right sort of combative nature between Rochdale and York, and both teams are just determined to try and get that title. It looks like a great title race. 2-1 for Rochdale in this one. Just to keep it ever so tight, in there, because both of them teams are going to get a win, is what I predicted for these midweek games. Southend versus Woking. Neil Ardley has left Woking. He was with Woking for a while, wasn't he? Which seems a bit odd, considering how good Woking have done recently, to have actually a really good run of form. I don't know how much is that because of him, because it has been the best part of a couple of weeks now since he left. So Southend have got a difficult game in their hands to try and win, and I don't think they do. I think the points will be split, and it'll be another 2-2 draw in this one. Tamworth versus Forest Green Rovers. Forest Green Rovers in 6th. They've done enough to get to the playoffs, but I don't think they've impressed me that much this season, considering all the hype associated around the Robbie Savage appointment and all that. Tamworth, well, they're losing more games than they're winning at present. 4 losses in the last 5 games. Maybe they get something from this one, though. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. Tamworth do seem to love a draw against Forest Green Rovers if you look through their past occasions where they've met each other. Truro City versus Solihull Moors. Solihull Moors need to get back to winning ways because they are not in a great shape right now. Truro won their last game to the surprise of a great deal of people. Still a little too late, I would suggest, now. Back to the National League South, which may be a bit more welcome for Truro, because there's a lot of travelling in the National League. I've gone 4-0 to Solihull Moors. Wealdstone versus Yeovil Town. 16th place Yeovil versus 11th place Wealdstone, although both are in a bit of a mixed bag of form at the moment. So it's quite difficult to really say who's going to win. I've gone a 3-0 win for Yeovil. I can't tell you why. It's just something that I've got as a gut feeling in my stomach. Farnborough versus Chelmsford City. Farnborough just above that relegation zone at the moment in 20th. 2 points clear of Chippenham Town, but have a game in hand over them. If are we hoping to win that? Up against Chelmsford, though, in this game. Chelmsford got a couple of games in hand over Torquay, 4 points to make up on it. So they're going to be hoping to not lose this one and throw their hat into the mix for playoffs. And I think it's going to be another exciting game, a 4-3 win for the Clarets here. On to Saturday's games. We got, starting us off in League One, Blackpool versus Burton Albion. Burton in 18th place, 4 points clear relegation zone. I think they've just about done enough. I would suggest Burton, but it's not over till it's over. And I think Blackpool actually might get the win here, because Burton tend to weirdly form better against the better sides in this division, which Blackpool clearly are not at the moment, seeing they're in 21st. I've gone with a 3-0 win for Blackpool. Exeter City versus Leyton Orient. Exeter have lost 5 in a row. Something has gone wrong with Exeter quite badly, looking like they could actually get relegated at the moment. I think I'm pretty certain I said at the start of my pre-season predictions that they were going to get relegated. I'm pretty certain I said that Exeter were going to be relegated at the start of the season. And we know Leyton Orient, they were having a tough ride, but they've now got 4 wins in a row and they're full of confidence. And I think they batter Exeter 6-2 in what will be an enthralling game. Reading versus Wigan Athletic. Reading 2 points off the playoffs. Still can't discount them. I think they're very decent teams. There's a lot of decent teams looking to get into the playoffs, though. So it's a right hubbub of excitement at the moment. Wigan, well, they're not in quite relegation. 3 points clear of relegation zone, should I say, are Wigan. And yeah, they are very much determined that they will not be relegated. But I think it might be a task too far up against Reading. I've gone 2-0 to Reading here. Can they make a return to the Championship? Stockport County versus AFC Wimbledon. Wimbledon's season's pretty much petered out to an end now. 14th place, 50 points. They say once you get to 50 points, you can probably sit back and relax because you know that you're going to stay up. Stockport, well, they're 10 points more and 60 points and in the playoffs. Very much a team that you'd expect. Well, last year they proved they had expectations to get to playoffs, and they're trying to do that again, I would suggest. I've gone with a 1-0 win for Stockport County in this one. Hugely great team. I actually got a couple of games in hand against both Bolton and Bradford. Would third place be best for Stockport? I mean, it's really hard to tell, and I don't think it gives them that much of an advantage. Wycombe Wanderers versus Port Vale. As I was saying, Port Vale are picking up a bit of form, and if they manage to get a win against Wycombe, I'll truly put their names in it, because Wycombe are 4 points off the playoffs in 10th place. I think they get a point. I've gone with a 1-1 draw. I just think Port Vale might be able to drag something into, just make the end of the season very interesting indeed. And on to Harrogate Town versus Notts County. Harrogate are in desperate need of points at the moment in the relegation zone, competing out between the likes of Barrow and Notts County, and it's all very tight at the moment in that position. With Harrogate, I think 1 point off safety. 1 point off safety at the moment, but 1 point above the bottom of the league placed Barrow. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for Harrogate, especially against the Notts County side, which are looking to be in that top 3 and in fine form. It's a relatively routine win for Notts County, I'm afraid. 3-1 to the Magpies. Barnet versus Cambridge United. Barnet in 12th, Cambridge in 3rd. You would suspect an easy win for Cambridge, but Barnet have thrown themselves around at this season and do look a somewhat decent side. I've gone 3-2 to Barnet at home at the Hive. So yeah, that would be an intrigue one. Barrow versus Bromley. Bromley are 3 points clear of 4th place Notts County, so they're probably going to get 9 points clear of Notts County. So they look like they're probably going to get promoted, which is huge for the South London side. Barrow, however, are looking like they are bottom of the league, and they look like they're going to be relegated. And they've been going through managers like no one business. They got rid of Dino Mamria. This is just going to be one of them games which everybody thinks would be an easy win for Bromley, and it's not. I'm going with a 3-3 draw. It's just going to be an absolute nuts game. It shouldn't be anything near that competitive, but it's just going to be, in my opinion. Bristol Rovers versus Accrington Stanley. Accrington Stanley in 15th, Bristol Rovers in 17th, although Bristol Rovers are the team in better form with only 1 defeat in 6, and Accrington haven't won a game in the last 6. However, I've gone with an Accrington Stanley win. They're 5 points above Bristol Rovers. Maybe that's for a reason. I've gone 1-0 to Accrington Stanley in this one. But yeah, neither side need to really too much. They're going to be ending up in a mid-table finish coming into the season. Colchester United versus Walsall. Colchester, disappointed in Colchester. They have now dropped off to 14th. Every single time there's a false dawn looking like they might reach the playoffs, they get up to like 10th, and then they're like, nah, rather not actually, and drop off again. Walsall, they're in 10th, 2 points off the playoffs. Very much a feasible chance out there that they do get into a position where they do get promoted. They've still got an interim manager, Darren Byfield. I think Colchester win this one, though. I've gone with a 2-1 win at Colchester. They are at home. And Walsall may rue the chances this season. Crawley Town versus Gillingham. Gillingham have lost 4 in a row, and Crawley, well, they sacked Scott Lindsay a couple of days back now, on the 22nd, which I was a bit shocked at. They're outside relegation zone by 1 point, and you know what? I thought, you know what, Scott Lindsay's decently associated with Crawley, and they're not in relegation zone. But it doesn't seem to be much need. However, I would suggest for Gillingham's manager, I would have to say, watch out, Gareth Ainsworth. I don't think he's done a good job with Gillingham at all at this point in proceedings, because surely Gillingham's aspirations are more than 16th. I don't think it's been much of an improvement, to be honest, since Ainsworth has come in. And if they don't win this one, I think he's got to walk the walk. But I think he doesn't need to worry, maybe, because I think he does win, but maybe not convincingly. I've got a 1-0 win to the Gills. But yeah, not convincing Ainsworth. Crewe Alexandra versus Oldham Athletic. 9th place Crewe versus 11th place Oldham. It's going to be an interesting one. 2 points separating these two teams. And for Crewe, it's 2 points separating them in the playoffs. So they'll be hoping to get a win in this one. And maybe at Gretzky Road, they will be able to do so. I've gone 2-1 to Crewe Alexandra. Newport County versus Shrewsbury Town. Newport just above the relegation zone at the moment by a singular point. They may just be able to do it. It's going to be a right old... There's 4 teams that are all in that position at the moment who are all hoping to not end up in them 2 spots that will result in relegation. Shrewsbury have lost 3 in a row, and they're in 19th. Not a great season for the Shrews. But maybe they turn it on up against Newport County. They're probably one of the more closer games that Newport have, or Shrewsbury and Newport have to travel to each other. Not quite a local rivalry, I would say. But yeah, I've gone with a 1-0 win for Shrewsbury Town in this one. But if Newport get a win, I would be fairly confident at that point to start saying they'll probably stay up. Salford City versus MK Dons. It's too little too late, I think, for Salford to make up the 5 points in only 7 games to get into the top 3. But if I'll probably be happy to settle for playoffs, which would probably be where they end up. But I think they will inflict further woes onto MK Dons and win 1-0. So small consolation prize maybe for them in that. Swindon Town versus Fleetwood Town. Fleetwood in 13th. A bit of an underwhelming season, maybe Fleetwood, maybe a bit more representative of their budget. Pete Wild was their manager, then they got rid of him. And now they have got Matt Lawler in charge as an interim manager. It'll remain to be seen when they actually appoint a successor. And until then, it's been a bit of chaos at that club. Swindon, they're still 3 points off the automatics. It would be insane if Swindon make a return to League One. When was the last time they played at that level? But they seem to have come out of absolutely nowhere to be involved in promotion contenders. Last season, nobody would have suggested it. I've gone 3-1 to Swindon Town. Internationally, you've got Brackley versus Tamworth. In this one, maybe Tamworth not got anything to play for at the moment, and they are sort of playing a bit like that. And I think maybe Brackley, because they do have something to play for, come out. They're at home and absolutely did not dominate Tamworth and win 3-0. Braintree Town versus Carlisle United. I think Braintree are going to get absolutely smashed to smithereens up against Carlisle. I think the Cumbrian outfit win 5-0 down in their trip to Essex. I just think that, Carlisle will probably make... So it's in Carlisle and Boreham Wood for me, which team makes that 3rd place. If Carlisle can get some consistent form going, they could definitely end up getting that seeded 3rd place. Eastleigh versus Forest Green Rovers. think an easy win for Forest Green Rovers, I'm afraid. I think Eastleigh are going to be a bit dragged into it, potentially. The relegation battle, that is. 3-1 to Forest Green Rovers in this one. Gateshead versus Yeovil. Although I suggested they lose against York, with Yeovil having Nout to play for, I think Gateshead might want to seize the initiative in this one, and I think Gateshead win. I think Gateshead win this one at home 3-1. Back to winning ways, and Rob Elliott's team will gradually be getting back into pole position to get out of relegation zone. FC Halifax Town versus Scunthorpe United. Important game for both, especially for the Shaman. If they got a difficult week, don't they, up against both Scunthorpe, who are in the playoffs, and also up against Carlisle, who are also in the playoffs at the moment. So it's a difficult game for the Yorkshire side, and I think Scunthorpe will win this one. They've won 3 in a row, and I think they're going to just carry on going. 1-0 to Scunthorpe. Morecambe versus Aldershot. Aldershot I've not been impressed with John Coleman's team at the moment, and they could also get dragged right into it. And John Coleman, I think, might be lucky to have his job by the end of this week, especially if they do look a bit more poised to be involved in a relegation scrap, as I think Morecambe turn out and run winners 2-1 in this one. It's going to be a crazy end to the season in the National League. Solihull Moors versus Aldrincham, 14th versus 15th. I can't really pick a win in this one, so I've gone with a enthusiastic 3-3 draw. Sutton United versus Rochdale. This is just going to be one of them ones, isn't it? That Rochdale are predicted to win. Sutton in 17th, got probably nothing to play for anymore. And I think Rochdale just run out as losers in this one, and Sutton just win at home 1-0. It's just one of them ones that nobody expects it, but then just somehow occurs. Truro City versus Boreham Wood. Bit of a similar in this one. Boreham Wood probably coming in a bit arrogant, but expectations of a win in this one. And I think Truro get another win. I've gone with a 2-1 win for the Cornish side. All too little too late, of course. But they're playing with their pressure off now. York City versus Woking. Although Woking are a team in great form, you can't dismiss beyond the view that York City are a great team at the moment. And with 104 goals scored for York already, I think York rightfully deserve to be crowned title winners. But that's not how football works. But I think York, they're prolific in front of goal. 3-0 to the Minstermen. On to Southport versus Southend United in the FA Trophy. I had a look, and the last time these two played each other was actually in the 1970s. I thought it would have been more recent than that, but no, well, in a league game anyway. So I've gone with a 0-0 draw in this one, but I do think Southend win on penalties. And then Wealdstone versus Marine. I think Wealdstone win this one on penalties after a 0-0 draw as well. I don't think any of these four sides will want to concede. Be very astute in defence. If it ends up being Southport versus Marine, you get all sorts of calls about why it's in. It'll be a typical Scouser wine of why it's down in London, down at Wembley, when these two teams are actually 10 miles down the road from each other, which is slightly amusing. Maybe they'll say, "Oh, can we not just play it like Anfield or Goodison or something?" I don't know, but AFC Telford United versus Bedford Town. Bedford, I still don't think they're quite over it yet, because they played a lot more games than some of the other teams behind them. And I wouldn't mind Bedford being relegated, but in part because of the long distance it takes to get down to Bedford for some of the teams in the National League North, because the name National League North has become a bit farcical of late. I think Telford win this one at 6-2. I do think they get playoffs. I really do. And yeah, so confident display from the box. Curzon Ashton versus Chester. Curzon Ashton actually made the interesting move of sacking their manager. That I personally did not see coming in this one. They got rid of, what was his name? Mark Bradshaw, and replaced him with Adam Barton. Now, it's a bit of a risk. Adam Barton was a player, and he's just been made as their manager. He's never had a managerial spell, right? So be interesting. It's a bit of a roll of the dice, and maybe it will work. Maybe they get some form in this one. I've actually gone with new manager bounce, 4-0 win for Curzon Ashton, which feels absolutely nuts to say. But yeah, I just see this as being the outcome of this game. AFC Fylde versus Darlington. Can Darlington help out their rivals, South Shields of sorts, in getting South Shields the National League North title? It'll be interesting in this one. I've gone with a 2-all draw, which means if South Shields do beat Alfreton, which they're probably expected to do so, then it will see South Shields gain back that top spot. Hereford versus Buxton. Buxton have actually gone flying with leads into ninth, now 5 points off the playoffs with a game in hand. 4 wins in a row, 1 defeat in the last 6. Absolutely remarkable turnaround from the Bucks. But I still have that lingering sense of doubt because I hope that Buxton get into the playoffs, but I just don't quite sure about it. I've gone with 2-1 for Hereford in this one. Kingsland Town versus Spennymoor Town. I think Spennymoor probably everyone's favourite to win this one, and I've gone with that as a 3-0 win for Spennymoor. Yeah, I just don't see the Linnets winning this game. Leamington versus Peterborough Sports. I think everyone in the relegation battle is just willing Leamington to win this one against Peterborough Sports, and they've not been great, have they, Sports, this season? I think Leamington do actually get back to winning ways with this one. 2-1 to Leamington. They'll probably be relegated by that point, and they can just play with a bit of freedom, knowing that the results won't matter. Oxford City versus Kidderminster Harriers. Maybe Oxford could force a point. I've gone with an absolutely nuts 1-all draw here. A bit of a local game, relatively speaking, considering Oxford's a bit of a geographically stranded area for the National League North. So yeah, maybe a 1-all draw. Scarborough Athletic versus Chorley. I've gone with a Chorley win because Scarborough have been... There's a lot of draws in there, and draws can become defeats if you're not careful. I've gone with a combative 3-2 win for the Magpies. South Shields versus Alfreton. I'm sorry, I've gone with a predictable South Shields 2-1 win. I might go to this game because I just really want to see Alfreton at some point this season, which is not a pre-season game. And I also haven't seen South Shields this season, and I've actually got a pint glass of South Shields. So go and get that filled up and head there this weekend, I think. Worksop Town versus Radcliffe. Radcliffe in 11th, Worksop down in 17th. You would suspect that therefore it will be an easy win for Radcliffe, but Radcliffe are in by far the worst vein of form out of the two. So I have gone with a 1-all draw in this one. On to the National League South and our final games really for this week. They're basically all in the National League South from here on in. Chesham United versus Tunbridge Angels to kick us off out of this list. And another disappointing defeat, I'm afraid, for Chesham, I think, as Tunbridge Angels in 13th. They've won 3 in a row, 1 defeat in the last 5 games. Decent enough run of form for the Kent side. And I think they get another win here. 1-0 to Angels. Chippenham Town versus Chelmsford City. A difficult game for Chippenham in their desperate plea to pull off the miraculous survival. I have gone with a win for Chelmsford, which really does make it look like they could maybe just get into the playoffs. I've gone 1-0 to Chelmsford City. Dagenham and Redbridge versus Hampton and Richmond Borough. maybe Hampton Richmond Borough slightly take their foot off the gas. They are now 8 points clear relegation zone. I think they'll probably think, you know what, 8 points in 6 games from a relegation battle. They're probably not going to be caught now. Whereas, interestingly enough, if you have been asleep or living on a rock, or maybe you just don't follow non-league football at all, Dagenham and Redbridge have been taken over in part by the YouTuber KSI, and Andy Carroll has been appointed as an interim manager. This is going to be an Wrexham situation, isn't it? I've gone Dagenham and Redbridge to win this one 5-0. Absolutely enthralling football from the Daggers. I think we all remember, though, the heydays of when Dagenham and Redbridge were in the Football League. I certainly do. Dorking Wanderers versus Hemel Hempstead Town. It's going to be an interesting one. First versus third. Dorking must be on the top of their performance to win this one, and I think they might be. 3-2 to Dorking Wanderers. Real end-to-end stuff. But I wouldn't be surprised if Tudor's got a win or a point in this one. Eastbourne Borough versus Bath. It's pretty much season over for Eastbourne, isn't it? But I think maybe a last hurrah will see them win this one. 1-0 at, is it Priory Lane, their home ground? I think so. So yeah, but Isthmian League is beckoning them. Ebbsfleet United versus Slough Town. Yeah, I mean, Ebbsfleet, you'd expect to win this in 6th place. Slough in 16th place. I've gone with a draw here. I've gone with 2-2 draw. Enfield Town versus Worthing. Easy win for Worthing every day of the week. 5-1 demolition job from the Sussex side. Up against, is it Middlesex that Enfield was traditionally part of? I'm not too sure. But they're in North London now. Farnborough versus Hornchurch. A win for Hornchurch. I'm going to go with a demolition job. I've actually gone with only a 1-0 win for Hornchurch, but it's still a win for the Urchins. Maidenhead United versus Weston-super-Mare. 8th place Weston-super-Mare is travelling to York Road, home to 5th place Maidenhead United. And I've gone with a 3-0 win for Maidenhead United. I just think that actually they could well make it even to the playoff final now, as they're really looking to begin to kick into gear. Some good sides in the National East South queuing up. Maidstone United versus AFC Toten. Maidstone aren't out of the picture yet. I think a solitary 1-0 win over AFC Toten will keep their hopes alive. Salisbury versus versus Dover Athletic. 19th place Salisbury, still not quite out of it, but it's 8 points clear a relegation zone. It would be very bad if they got relegated, because it means that a couple of local rivals, Farnborough and Chippenham, have finished above them. So they'll be hoping to at least get a result here up against Dover, and I think they do at home. 3-2 to Salisbury, yet again finishing in that area just above relegation zone. Torquay United versus Horsham. Torquay to win this one, I think, for obvious reasons. You know, Horsham have only won once in the last 6 games. So yeah, 2-0 to Torquay. And the final one is the Monday Night Football. So it's got to be Chelmsford City. It always is, isn't it? Non-league Monday football. But I'm not gone with another win for Chelmsford in this one. I've actually gone with Toten to win 2-1. Maybe they would have appointed a replacement for Ball by then. Thank you very much for watching this slightly shorter international break special prediction video. Do subscribe if you're new around here, and I will catch you all in the next one. Goodbye for now.